Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Sell More Book Show, episode 547. I'm Brian Cohen from Best Page Forward, joined by Vlad Bustiuc of Nova Media Marketing. Of course, I probably said your name better when we were off the air. But Vlad's agency does marketing for fiction authors, and he's helped lots and lots of authors over the last 7 years. Vlad, I am so excited for you to join us. How are you today?
Well, thanks so much for having me, Brian. It's a pleasure to be here. And actually, you did pronounce my name correctly, so
Yes.
You got that right.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good. It's the end of the day here for me. I'm sure you're just getting started, but yeah, it's a good day. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I just love this year. We've really expanded out to try to get voices that simply aren't on that many podcasts. You did a great interview with Merch Jar a few months ago, which was wonderful. And you've done a few here and there, but part of the reason you're not on so many shows is because you and your team are busy helping authors run Facebook, Amazon, TikTok, whatever ads are going to help them to succeed. So you have so much knowledge, and I'm really excited to share some of that here on the show. In 2024 here, I mean, things are always changing. Do you feel like there's anything that significantly changed from 2023 to 2024 in how you guys do things?
Yeah, so that's a good question. In terms of marketing, what I did notice across the board, like things are just getting more and more difficult in terms of advertising. And it's getting like each genre is getting more competitive. There's new authors that are coming out, and everyone's advertising. So, costs are more expensive. But what I've noticed is there's like different ways that people market themselves. So there's like organic TikTok, Facebook Meta ads, Amazon DSP ads. So there's more ways to market. And yeah, I mean, but we've been doing this for 7 years, and what I've noticed is that things are just keep getting more and more difficult and more expensive.
Yes.
And the authors that continue to be successful are still the ones that advertise, and the ones that have the biggest, back catalog or the highest read through between the series. So yeah, that's something that I've noticed, and I think that's something that's important for the new authors that are coming in, because they're competing with the bigger authors that can advertise more aggressively because they have such a large back matter. So and that's also who we're trying to help as well, like people that allow us to spend a lot of money because they have so many books that they can spend a lot.
Right. I've heard the old phrase, I think, who knows if he originated it, but Alex Hormozy talking about if you can pay the most for a customer, you will win. You will be the biggest business in your sector. Do you think that kind of tracks with this more expensive ad costs here in 2024?
Certainly. So I think that's from Dan Kennedy. I think that's the one
So he
that
might have
where
gotten it from Dan Kennedy then
yeah,
when he
and maybe
mentioned it. Yeah.
Dan Kennedy got it from someone else, but
True.
yeah, no, that's 100% true. That's 100% true. I'm not sure if most authors understand what that means, but to put it in context in what we do, the way that looks is basically whoever is willing to lose the most amount of money when they advertise, that's who wins. So,
Yeah.
I'll give an example. Like the way that looks for us is, we're not breaking even on the books we advertise, depending on genre. But sometimes we're actually losing 50% of what we spend. And that turns out to be a more profitable approach, because it's way more scalable than just trying to be profitable on the book we advertise or even break even. So yeah, that definitely applies. And whoever is willing to spend the most, and also can afford to lose money on the book that they advertise, those are going to be the authors that are going to win the long game.
That absolutely makes sense when you factor in things like read through and visibility and simply just your Facebook audience, your Meta audience growing over time, leading to more targeting opportunities. There's endless benefits to spending money and breaking even or losing money in that long-term profitability.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, makes so much sense. We're gonna tackle some more questions on this, but let's go into the top story of the week. I'm sure you'll have some opinions on this one. So let's get into AI Amazon ads. So Amazon just launched its own AI-powered video generator just for advertisers, reports Kyle Wiggers on TechCrunch. At their recent Accelerate conference, Amazon unveiled their new tool, Video Generator, which turns a still image into videos designed to showcase the product. According to Amazon, this tool can curate custom AI-generated videos that showcase a product's features at no additional cost to the advertiser. Videos Generator leverages Amazon's unique retail insights to vividly bring a product story to life in ways that are relevant to customers, says Amazon in a blog post. The new tool is currently in beta for select US advertisers and is currently being tested for sponsored brands campaigns. To see even more of what Amazon is doing to leverage AI for advertisers, like potentially AI created A+ content, visit the blog post using the link in our show notes. Now, we always have to mention with these kind of stories, authors don't get things first. We see sellers get certain tools first, so that's why there's so much emphasis on product here for people selling razors or shirts or what have you. But everything eventually does trickle down to authors at some point. Vlad, video brand ads are big this year. They made the switch over in the middle of the year where they won't even run sponsored brand ads without images or videos. What do you think it means that Amazon is kind of using these the AI tools here for sponsored brands and conceivably eventually product ads as well?
Yeah, so I mean, what it looks like, it's what they're doing, and that's what essentially they're always trying to do, is just make things easier for authors to spend money on the platform and sell books. I think that's what they're attempting to do, and then they're making it, because some authors, maybe they're not, like, it's difficult to go ahead and create an AI video or even images, so they're trying to make it like in their platform so that people have the option to just create the creative there and get started. Because like with authors, generally speaking, like, they're busy writing, right? So I think that's actually quite good. I mean, I think it's a good intention that they're trying to make things easier for us to use for authors.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, I mean that makes a lot of sense. I know that you're in your agency use Midjourney and other image generators and whatnot. Do you find that I mean there's always this contingent of the author world that is so nervous when it comes to AI, especially when it comes to generative writing, but definitely with covers and images. Do you have testing to show that AI generated images just convert better and so that's why we use them? Or is it kind of a case by case basis?
So before AI, we used to use like free stock images. That's what
Yes.
we used to, for our ads. And it was actually taking us a lot of time to find them, because we've noticed that there's like a pattern in what images perform best in terms of the content of the image. And then when AI came, we realized, well, we know what type of images work. We can just create unlimited images for free. I mean, for free, a lot of them,
Yeah, yeah.
with the things that we have found to work. So it definitely was a benefit. And I think we're just using AI images 100% on all of the ads that we have. But they definitely did help. And the reason they did is because now with AI, you can create images that grab attention, because essentially that's what we're trying to do with our ads, with the images, the image element of an ad. We found that that's like the most important element that can drop cost or improve click-through rates, because it's visual. and it attracts the most attention. So we always analyze, what have been the ads that performed the best, what did they have in common, and then you can go ahead and create better images. So that could mean like using more vibrant images or more powerful colors, right? Like more contrast in them, or like a sunset that's pretty strong, like something that would catch the attention, because ultimately we're competing with other, reels or images that get a lot of attention, so millions of views. So essentially we want to have a creative that can compete with those reels, with those posts that get the most traction, and then to make the reader stop and then read the text and headline that we have in the ad.
Very interesting. Thank you for sharing your process with that.
Sure.
I want to jump into these hot potato wisdom questions. I mean, compared to the normal videos that people are running on brands that were not generated with AI, do you think the Amazon AI videos will be effective for books when it's fully rolled out?
To be honest, thinking back, I think a few years ago, the trailer movies or the trailer videos for a book, you remember those? There was like
Mm-hmm.
agencies making them. They were like super expensive, $4,000. I think it was like the
Right.
highest that I've seen.
Right.
So super expensive. But what I did notice is that no one was actually getting results with them. We've
Yeah.
even used them. We've created them. We've paid, freelancers on Fiverr to create them, but we did not make them work as well as just static images.
Mm.
And I think that similarly, the same thing's going to happen with those ads. That's what I predict. The reason is because, as you've read your post, it did mention that they use AI to put in front like the features of the product. So when we sell books, books are they're not that expensive. So it's not like we can highlight our features of our product,
Mm.
right?
Right.
So generally speaking, it's very rare that we actually use videos to promote books, even on Facebook, even on Instagram. It might be cases where we use, videos from influencers or like people that made a review on a book or a TikTok that went viral that we can use. But generally speaking, I don't think that that's gonna be. It could work as well or worse. That's what I would predict. I don't
Mm.
see, because Amazon is not a platform where you consume video content.
Right.
And you might have seen, I think there's just one ad from all of the video ads that I've already seen on Amazon. I think there's just one ad, which is LT Ryan's ad. It's a dog, it's a canine dog with a book. Probably everyone's seen it, browsing. And what that is just an image of a dog that's kind of like, moving around. So it's more like a image that's kind of moving rather than a video. And what
Right.
I would predict is that authors would go in and use AI to kind of create a video that matches the content of their book, which I don't think is necessarily what readers are naturally interested. Like, I don't think that's how readers discover new books, right? Like
Yeah.
trailers. Like, I don't think that that's necessarily the way. So as long as people would use videos to grab attention and get them to stop and check out the book, that's fine. But if they're gonna do like some sort of different approach, I don't think that's necessarily gonna work. Considering all the videos that I've seen, because whenever I see a video, I check the book to see their ranks, to see if they're performing well or not. And most of them, they're not. Like, the only one that
Mm.
I've seen that's actually performing well is LT's Ryan book with the dog. Probably
Yeah.
everyone's seen that. So
Yeah. No, I've seen some of her ads. I'm not sure I've seen the dog one, but yeah,
okay,
I
yeah,
mean, like, you can easily just look. You can look at the ranks, so that
yeah,
makes
exactly.
total sense. And I've noticed that too. It's really interesting. Just like elaborate trailers don't necessarily do anything.
Yeah, yeah. Even though like there's a lot of effort that go into it, it,
Mm-hmm.
it I've never seen, and I wish it was different, right? Because there's a lot of effort that goes into it, and it produces this great stuff, and probably authors are super excited to see the work. But it just didn't see it really make a huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a great observation there, Vlad. I think you have a question for me here.
Right. So my question is like, where would you like to see AI implemented or better implemented on Amazon?
Uh, Great stuff. Yeah, I think that I'd love to see AI better implemented on these kind of amalgamations of reviews that they use now. Sometimes they're fine. Sometimes they bring in weird quotes from the reviews that don't necessarily all make sense. Or if one person says, "Oh, it's poorly characterized," then poorly characterized makes it into that summary. So I'd love to see that better implemented, but I don't see Amazon doing this, but I would love to see AI implemented in such a better way that allows readers to get better connected with authors. Amazon follows. People always ask me, "Are Amazon follows important?" And it's like, no, not really. You'll get the notification once when a new book gets released. But what if there was some way to share updates with those authors based on kind of like Amazon and Author Central are connected to author blogs. They're connected to author new reviews. What if a new 5-star review got shared with those followers? If there was a better way to connect the readers and the authors with AI, that I would feel better about. And then better implementing it on the existing features, I think would be a good use of the AI. Like I said, who knows whether or not they'll go to any kind of trouble like that.
I do have a question because I think that's in your experience, in your expertise. So
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
not sure if you've noticed, there's like this question that is now on the page of the book where it says,
Yeah.
"What's this book about?" And then there's like a short sentence about the book. I'm not sure if that's AI or not, but
Oh,
what do you
yeah.
think about that section?
I mean, I think that it really depends on how they're using that. I imagine they're using it for that AI summary.
Mm-hmm.
Um, who knows how they're weighting that? Are they weighting the reviews more, or are they weighting people answering that kind of question? That's especially because if anyone's on the page, I suppose they could respond to that whether or not they've read the book. I imagine it's all feeding in. I
Mm-hmm.
imagine it's all feeding in, uh, and this is why it's really important, especially as you continue to grow, as you continue to build your backlist. It's really important to make sure any new subscribers, any new people who come into your sphere, tell them about your older books. Because you don't know what just some random person stumbling on your book one is going to go and say about it, which could then get fed into this AI, you know, this AI sausage maker here, and could then show up on your book page. But I don't know definitively, but that's a really good question.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah,
I
that's
can't
definitely
remember.
interesting.
Yeah, no, very, very. All right, your moment to shine, Vlad. We're going into the lightning round here. Um, as per every guest gets the opportunity to make a lightning and or thunder sound for the lightning round. Have at it, my friend.
All right. So here's my try. Let's go. 3, 2, 1, thunder sound.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. And you live in the Transylvania area. I feel like us Americans, this is what we think of: Dracula and thunder and lightning. And so you've made us smile. We appreciate it.
Well,
All
I hope
right.
I did.
Yeah, you So, going into the lightning round where we try to keep the answers short and sweet if we can. So, I've read in a recent blog post of yours on Nova Media, you guys tend not to use the Facebook Advantage Plus audiences as much with your agency's Facebook ads. What did your tests find when you compared this broader targeting that, of course, Facebook is pushing on everybody? What did you find when you tested this broader targeting with more specific targeting?
Right. So we always, test whatever is available that we think might work. So we're not actually testing everything that, every single option that's available. That would take a lot of time. But we always test whatever seems to be, that has potential. So obviously Advantage Plus became quite popular. We tested it, and then what we're essentially doing is like we're running our normal ads, the ads that we've been running for a long time, and then we switched to advanced targeting, and we just saw like worse results overall. The reason for that was because our approach is a bit different, I would say, than the like a smaller author, because we work with authors that we sold over, I think, $12 million worth of books. And when we work with someone, our goal is to try and sell that book to as many people as possible for a long period of time, right? So that's very different than trying to have a good month or trying to nail a really good audience. Because even if we did nail a really good audience for a month, eventually we're going to have to run into the not so great audience, the rest of it. And our approach is, we're kind of thinking like, what's the biggest author that we could associate ourselves with and to sell to that audience, right? So we could think about like Nora Roberts or James Patterson, and then we position our books to be appealing to those people, if we can. So then our ads might even say something like, this is the perfect read for Nora Roberts fans, or James Patterson fans can't put this book down, right? So we would try to associate ourselves with the biggest name on the market, because that's the biggest pool of hungry readers. So then our ads become more targeted, and we don't need to necessarily go into advanced, because we already know who we're going after. And then we also know that audience, like how big that audience is, and then how much we can spend or market on it. And sometimes that's not possible for other authors, especially if they're like in a niche that's not so popular. Then they might not have access to a big name that they can associate themselves with. And I think that's when maybe going to advantage targeting might be a better option.
That makes total sense, and it really kind of explains your agency's general philosophy as well, which I think is really, really valuable. Thank you. I think you've got a question for me.
Sure. So how do Facebook ads actually tend to differ between authors of fiction and nonfiction? Because we only work with fiction authors. So I'm
Right.
curious how you see that.
Right. So for nonfiction authors, if you're only selling books on their own, which I think is kind of a mistake, which I'll get into in a second, but if you're only selling books, absolutely either using the Advantage Plus targeting or Vlad's method, if you have a comp author who makes sense to sell to, absolutely. But I think in the nonfiction world, it is all about ascension. It is all about ascending people from a lower ticket item like a book, which you're likely not even just selling on Amazon. You're probably selling off your own website so that you get the email address. But you are selling a book so that you can get them to a course, so that you can get them to a service or coaching. And I think this is where a lot of nonfiction authors run into trouble, because they think, oh, well, I can't write a 10-book series, or it doesn't make sense to rapid release and all of these tactics. But you have an advantage as a nonfiction author, which is you can't go and sell a $197 book or a $397 recurring service. You simply can't. And so as a result, with nonfiction, you want to be looking at the entire funnel, and you want to be looking at what is the lowest cost per acquisition based on what I can get at the end of the funnel, not just what I can get at the beginning.
Totally makes sense.
Yeah.
In a way, I do believe that even fiction authors should kind of see the same thing that you said, because essentially they are selling a more like a higher value product, which is their series or their back matter. So maybe after book one they're selling like another $2.99 book, but in a span of 6 months they're selling like another $27 or $50 product, which is a series or two series. So I would say like it's pretty the theory behind it, it's very similar. It's just that the fiction authors, they come in a different like it's more books compared to what you mentioned, where you're actually
Right.
selling a service.
Right.
But yeah, very
Yeah,
interesting.
that totally makes sense. That totally makes sense. It's the bigger the backlist you have, the more like a nonfiction author with a big funnel you can
Yeah.
work like. No, that absolutely makes sense. Another question to you, Vlad. Dark romance is hot right now. I know that you work with a lot of authors in dark romance. There are other places that only work with dark romance because it has this viral pull on places like TikTok. Why do you think dark romance is so popular right now?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I do think that that's happening across multiple genres. Obviously,
Mm,
dark romance is kind of skyrocketed.
mm-hmm,
But I think there's two reasons or two elements to why dark romance is so viral. And obviously, the first one is that they readers can get like intense emotions and then
mm,
also intense narratives from the comfort of their home. So they
yeah.
can read about crazy stuff that really makes them think about it for a long time, and it makes them feel specific things that they don't get to feel from reading a cozy mystery book, for example. So that's something that can also be transmitted like from word of mouth. Like you can just talk
Mm,
about this book, you can share insight about the book, you can if you look at the TikTok videos, people are just amazed about a specific book, they start recommending it. And obviously the second point is because TikTok is so popular, and there's people that offer this service and they push this thing because it has organic legs. And then also TikTok has become a way of discovering new books for readers.
mm,
And the same thing is happening in dark romance, as well as in psychological thrillers, as well as in fantasy romance. Like all those three markets have grown considerably from 2023 to 2024. And if you look at the growth of views on hashtags on TikTok, it's directly correlated to the growth in that we see in the markets.
mm. If only we could all predict what the growth will be from 2024 to 2025. That
Yeah,
would be nice. But no, great use of the data that you've seen there and calling out the other genres that have grown as well. Thank you.
yeah.
All right, you got a question for me.
Right. So why might it be important to consider more discreet covers when it comes to marketing dark romance and reverse harem books?
Absolutely. And this also fits with romantasy, which you just brought up. Um, obviously, there are some racy covers you could put together for any of these kind of books that do have some explicit content, but we need to be able to run ads. You need to be able to run ads to these books. And if you put out a book cover that Amazon won't let you run Amazon ads to, it may get in the way of your marketing. There's a great author I worked with a few years ago who one of the series that she got the most sales on, you couldn't run the Amazon ads to. She was matching the cover trends for her spicier romance, but Amazon wouldn't let those ads run. And so she changed her covers. She got alpha out of the title, which Amazon would not at the time let you run ads to. And she sold a whole lot more and was able to get to a six-figure a year career. And it wouldn't have happened if she had not just decided, look, maybe there are places I can use spicier covers, Kickstarters, not safe for work art things that you can purchase on the side. But when it comes to being able to run the ads in all the locations, you need to have the covers discreet enough that you can actually run those ads. And so that is why it's important.
Yeah, yeah, totally agree. And things have changed. I mean, we all remember the books in 2017, 2018, contemporary romance, every, guys naked, Facebook
Mm-hmm.
ads as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that definitely changed. And running like like a naked guy cover now or an ad, like it's impossible.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Um, so one thing you mentioned in a recent blog post, which I thought was just really, really well said, was that when you run ads, you had kind of your 7 steps of what happens, and step 7 of what happens is you get paid more to write a book in the long run if you're running ads. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Sure. So, I mean, things are in my opinion, things are pretty simple. So, you as an author, like you're writing a book, right? And then when you launch that book in the next few, 6 months or whatever, you're gonna get paid across those 6 months for what you wrote, and that is directly correlated to how many readers you've acquired, right? So we know that the sell-through in a series, the sell-through from from book 1 to book 2 is generally 60%. So 60% of the revenue that's generated in book 1 or higher, moves to book 2. So let's say that, you've managed to sell $10,000 worth of book 1. That means that book 2 is going to be worth $6,000.
Right.
If you manage to sell $100,000 of book 1, you will make $60,000 on book 2, right? So that's what's determining how much your time that you're putting in that book is worth. And most authors already put the work in, and it would be a shame not to get paid more for what they've already done. And the way they increase how much that book is worth is just by selling more, of book 1s in a case of a series.
That makes total sense. And I love the way you're looking at this. Obviously, you know as well as I do, we've talked to lots and lots of authors. A lot of authors don't think in this business way. They don't think of, oh, well, if I sell a certain amount of book 1, I can project forward that I will then sell this 60% of book 2. And if they have great read through the rest of the series, potentially 40 to 60% of the ongoing rest of the books. So great way of putting that. I'm really interested to hear what some of our listeners think about this. So thank you for that. But speaking of, we need a question of the week. I always defer to the guests, even if it's just an idea of, well, I'd like to hear about this subject. I'm happy to flesh it out. But Vlad, is there anything you'd like to ask our listeners here?
Your listeners, well, to ask them directly, or
yeah, you can ask them. This is kind of our question that they can answer in our group. That gives them a further thought based on kind of what we've talked about in the episode.
Right. Right. I mean, what I would be curious to know is like how much did they spend on marketing? Like that would be an interesting thing to know, because the way I see it, there's like 2 types of authors. There's authors that have great books, but they don't know how to market, and usually, if good marketing comes in, then their career will just flourish. And then there's the other type, which they maybe wrote a book or some books that are not necessarily on market, and that's something that even advertising wouldn't be able to fix. But in order to understand if you're one of the 2, you need to advertise. So and you need to kind of spend some money to understand if you're one of the 2.
No, that makes total sense. So I just rephrase it as, how much have you spent on marketing in 2024?
Exactly. That's a great question.
I love that. That will get some interesting answers. And folks, you can answer the question of the week over at the Sell More Book Show After Party Facebook group. Well, Vlad, it has been great having you here. We'll have you back here next week for the next episode. Everyone can go check out Vlad's agency and more info at novamediamarketing.net. Really appreciate you being on the show and sharing some of your wisdom here today.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Brian, and thanks so much for all the great questions.
Yeah, of course. Well, Vlad will be back here next week. So I hope everyone has a great week of book selling, and we'll talk to you next week for episode 548. Bye.